Today's lesson is about equations of circles. We have a little box here that has some important information. Unfortunately, there's a little typo in it. This right here is the formula for the equation of a circle. And one thing is not correct in it. It's supposed to say the quantity x minus h squared plus the quantity y minus k squared equals r squared. So the center of the circle is going to have the coordinates hk. So wherever you find your center point, that's going to tell you the x coordinate is the letter h in this formula, and the y coordinate would be the letter k in this formula. And however big your radius is, that's the r. The x and the y, of course, just stay in the equation, just like you have an x and a y equals mx plus b equation. And what that equation tells us is where every point on the circle could be, because any point that falls on the circle itself will satisfy this equation. It'll be a true statement when you plug in the x and the y for any point on this circle. So HK is your center, and then R is then how long the radius of the circle is. And we use that information to write our equation. So let's see how that looks. The directions tell us to write the equation of each circle. So number 1 gives us a center at 0, 0, which of course is the origin. So the center tells us our h and our k. And then the radius is 8. So we'll start with writing the formula. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we'll fill in the h, the k, and the r. X minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 8 squared. And now we'll just simplify from here. X minus 0 is just x. So instead of writing x minus 0 squared, we'll just write x squared. Plus y minus 0 squared would just be y squared, and then equals 8 squared. 8 times 8 is 64. So this is the equation of the circle. That's all we have to do. It's a done deal. All right, let's go on and try number 2. This one tells us the center is at -2, 3. So this is my h and this is my k. And the radius is 5. So I can still see the formula right here. So I'm going to start by filling in what I know. X minus h is -2 in parentheses squared plus y minus 3 in parentheses squared equals 5 squared. So x minus -2. Minus negative means the opposite of -2. So that's going to be x plus 2 in parentheses squared. And then we're just going to leave this y minus 3 squared, but we are going to square our 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And that would be the answer to the problem. Okay. Let's move down to problem 3. It says the center is at 2, -4, and the radius is 1. So here's my h, here's my k. So I'm going to go, and here, let's get it so we can see that formula there. X minus h is 2 squared plus y minus k is -4 squared equals r squared. R is 1, 1 squared. All right, so now there's not too much to do to simplify it. The first part we'll leave alone, x minus 2 squared plus minus negative 4 here is going to turn to plus, just like we saw up here. So y plus 4 squared equals 1 times 1 is 1. And that one is done. All right, number 4. Why don't you try this one on your own? Why don't you pause your video, give it a shot, and see if you can get it. And then we'll come back and do it together. So x minus negative 1 squared plus y minus negative 4 squared equals 2 squared is what you should have gotten for your first step. And then to simplify that, we have x plus 1 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 2 times 2, which is 4. Whoops, sorry, I think I went off the side a little bit there. All right, now number 5 is just slightly different. It says the center is at negative 2, negative 6. No big deal. There's my h, there's my k. But this time it says the diameter is 8. All the others have told us the radius. So what are we going to have to do if they give us the diameter instead of the radius? Well, hopefully you remember that the diameter is twice the radius. So 2 times r is equal to d. Or the diameter divided by 2 is equal to the radius. So the radius is half of 8. So the radius here would be 4. Now that we have that, we're ready to rock and roll just like we did on the others. X minus h, which is negative 2 squared, plus y minus k, which is negative 6 squared, equals 4 squared. And now we simplify. X plus 2 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals 16. All right. Number 6. On number 6, it's slightly different because we have the diameter here like we did here, but the center, they don't just give us a point. They tell us the center is at the origin. So what's the origin? Well, the origin is 0, 0. That's where the x and y axis cross on our graph. So we're going to use the point 0, 0. That'll be our h and our k. And then if the diameter is 4, the radius is half of that, so the radius is 2. So we'll have x minus 0 squared plus y minus k squared. Oops, sorry, got to fill in the number. 0 squared equals r, which is 2 squared. And so we'll simplify, just like on problem 1. If we have minus 0, we don't need to write minus 0. So we'll just go x squared plus y squared equals 4. And that one is done. All right. Now, number 7. We have the center is at 3, negative 4, and it passes through a point, negative 1, negative 4. So they don't tell us what the radius is equal to. So we have to solve for that. So center is h and k. And this time they gave us another point on the circle. So we're going to substitute that in for x and for y, and we're going to solve for the radius. So we'll say, start with x. X is negative 1 minus h, which is 3, close parentheses squared, plus new parentheses y, which is negative 4, minus k, which is negative 4, close parentheses squared, is equal to r squared. And we're trying to solve for r. Now, if you have a calculator, you could use that to figure this out. If not, we can just do it one piece at a time here. We'll follow the order of operations, work inside of the parentheses. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, that's in parentheses squared, plus negative 4 minus negative 4 means negative 4 plus 4, which is just 0 squared equals r squared. Negative 4 squared is negative 4 times negative 4, which is 16. And 0 squared is 0. So 16 equals r squared. And now to get the r by itself, we take the square root on both sides because square roots cancel squares. So that gives us r is 4. Now we go back to the beginning. We use our h and our k and this number 4 for the r in order to solve the problem. We leave the x and the y alone. That was just given to solve for r. So we'll have x minus 3 in parentheses squared plus y minus negative 4 in parentheses squared equals r, which is 4 squared. And then we'll simplify. X minus 3 in parentheses squared plus y plus 4 in parentheses squared equals 16. And that will be the answer for number 7. Number 8 is similar. It's going to take pretty much the same amount of work. You might want to pause the video and try it on your own first to make sure you can do it, and then check, or you can work it along with me. So if the center is at 0, 3, 0 is the h, and 3 is the k. And then we have another point given, x, y. So we'll write x is 2 minus h is 0, close parentheses squared, plus new parentheses, y is 0, minus k is 3, close parentheses squared, equals r squared. So 2 minus 0 squared is 2 squared, plus 0 minus 3 is negative 3 squared, and then that equals r squared. So 2 squared is 4. Negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. And if you add 4 and 9, that equals 13. So 13 is r squared. And now, to get the r by itself, we take the square root on both sides of the equation. So r is equal to the square root of 13. Now you might think, oh, I want to grab my calculator and put that in as a decimal. But that's not really necessary here. Let me show you why. I'm just going to say r equals the square root of 13. When we write our formula now, we have parentheses x minus h, which is 0, squared, plus parentheses y minus 3 in parentheses squared equals r, which is the square root of 13. And I'm going to put that in parentheses and square it. Oops. So, now we simplify. X squared plus y minus 3 squared equals, what happens when I square that square root? Those undo each other, so it's just equal to 13. So that helps so that we don't actually have to have a decimal. That's the answer to number 8. All right, next we're going to do number 9. Number 9 looks totally different than the other problems, but the directions are still the same. We have to write the equation for this circle. So they gave us a picture instead of telling us where the center is and what the radius is. So we have to read those off the graph ourselves. So if the center is right here, I have to figure out what is the h and the k, what is the x and the y coordinate of the center point here. So here's my origin, here's 0, 0. So x is 2 units to the left, which means x is -2, and y is 1 unit down, so y is -1. So my center is at -2, -1, that's my h and that's my k. Now, we also need to know the radius. How long is it between the center point and any point on the circle? It looks like it's exactly 2 units, so the radius is 2. And now it's just like the others, fill them in. X minus -2 squared plus y minus -1 squared equals 2 squared. So x plus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 4. All right. Number 10. On number 10, this is just like number 9. You might want to pause the video and give it a try, but then you can push play and I'll do it with you. Make sure you got it right. So, first we identify where is the center and what is the radius. So, the center, our h and our k. How far do we go from the origin? 1 to the right, so the x coordinate is 1, and 1, 2, 3 up, the y coordinate is 3. And the radius is the distance between the center and really any point on the circle, that is 3. So now we use that to write the equation. X minus 1 in parentheses squared plus y minus 3 in parentheses squared equals 3 squared. So x minus 1 quantity squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared equals 9. That's the answer for problem number 10. Okay, let's flip over to the back of our notes. The back says, for the directions, for each circle with the given equation, state the coordinates of the center and the measure of the radius, then graph the equation. So this is kind of like going backwards from what we did before. They give us the equation. We write down what is the center, what is the radius, and then we make the circle on the paper. So, number 1, we have x squared plus y squared equals 16. Now, keep in mind, when you don't have a plus or a minus after an x, it's like it's a minus 0. So, the x is minus 0, so the h is 0. And the y doesn't have anything added or subtracted to it either, so it's just like it's y minus 0. So we're going to put a 0 for our k as well. And now the radius is going to equal the square root of the number at the end, 16. So for this problem, the square root of 16 is 4. So we have our center and we have our radius. First, we're going to start by putting the center on the graph. So we're going to draw a point at 0, 0. And then we're going to count 4 units, up, down, left, and right from the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, make a point. 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 Now we draw the circle. This is easier said than done. If we were in the classroom, I'd pull out the compasses and give you the option of grabbing one of those to help you make it nice and pretty if you want it. It's not absolutely necessary to do so though. If you can just kind of do your best attempt at a circle, that will be fine. There we go. There's my best attempt. So the circle is graphed. All right, number 2. Now, looking at this is x minus h in parentheses squared plus y minus k in parentheses squared equals r squared. Now, the center is going to be at the point hk. So, what is the h in this problem? Well, look where the h is. Right below the h is a 2. Notice this is minus, this is minus. The minus is part of the formula, so it's just 2. H equals 2. And here's my k. 1 is under the k. The minus is part of the formula, so k is equal to 1. Now, 9 is equal to the radius squared. So to get the r by itself, we have to take the square root on both sides. So the radius is equal to 3. So we're going to start by putting the center point down on the graph. Here's my origin. Count 2 to the right for the x coordinate and 1 up for the y. There's my center. Now I'm going to count up 3, down 3, 1, 2, 3, left 3, and right 3 from my center. Every point on the circle is 3 units away from the center. And then we will make our best attempt at drawing a circle through those 4 points. Okay. I'll do number 3 with you, and then you might want to try it and pause the video and do number 4 without my help. So, where is the center for number 3? Well, it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Notice the h and the 2 are right together, but it doesn't say minus 2. It says plus 2. So this is like it was x minus negative 2. So the h is actually going to be a negative 2 here. Basically, whenever you see a plus in front of your number, you're going to make it a minus here. When you see a minus in front of your number, it'll be a positive here. So the sign is always going to be opposite what you see in the formula because the formula is built in with a negative. Now, the y doesn't have anything added or subtracted to it. That means it's y minus 0. So we have the center at the coordinates negative 2, 0. Now our r squared is 16. If 16 is equal to r squared, we take the square root on both sides to get r by itself. So the square root of 16 is 4. So we're ready to graph. We're going to start with our center point. From the origin, we go 2 units to the left, make a point, because negative 2 is the x, 0 for y. Then the radius is 4, so I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, left 1, 2, 3, 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's a game of connect the dots, but it's harder than connect the dots because we don't use straight lines. We use circular curves. All right, there we go. Okay, my recommendation is that you try number 4 on your own and then check to see what it should have been to see if you get it right. So pause that video and give it a shot. So hopefully you got that the center is at 0, 1. That's your h, that's your k. And hopefully you got that the radius is equal to 3 because 3 is the square root of 9. So to graph it, Your center is 0, 1, that's 1 unit up the y-axis. And then the radius being 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. We're ready to draw it. Yay! Does yours look like mine? I bet it does. All right. Let's go on to number 5. The directions have changed. It says, write an equation of a circle that contains each set of points, then graph the circle. Well, guess what? I'm going to be a little bit of a rebel here, and I'm going to put the points down first and graph that circle and then come up with my equation. So all these points are going to be on my circle. So I've got -2, 2. There's point F. -1, 1. That's point G. And -1, 1, 2, 3. Here's point H. Now, if those points are making a circle, let's see, they only gave me 3. First of all, there should be 4 really nice points to be able to graph to make a circle, and I should be able to see the center. So do you see where the center of this circle needs to be? What point is equidistant from all 3 of the points that we just graphed? It looks like if I put a point right here, this one would be 1 unit below H, 1 unit to the right of F, 1 unit above G. So it looks like that should be my center point. And that last missing point to make my circle would be right over here. So hopefully you could see that. And now we're going to say, all right, where's our center? We need the coordinates to write the equation. -1 for the x, 2 for the y. And what is my radius on this circle going to be? Looks like 1. Each point on the circle is 1 unit from the center. So now we'll write our equation. X minus -1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 1 squared. So x plus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 1. There we go. That's the equation of the circle. Try number 6 on your own. Did you get it graphed like me? Where is our center? Did you get -2, -1? How about for the radius? Did you get 2? And for that equation, x plus 2 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 4. Yay! You can write equations of circles now. Good luck on your homework. Remember, ask for help if you don't understand. Have a great day. Bye.